everyone. Welcome to Meet the Candidates, our candidate forum for the 2023 annual convention, which, as you all know, is next weekend. Audio for today's forum is available in English and Spanish. If you locate the globe icon on the bottom of your screen, you can click it and select your preferred language. Once you have done so, I do ask you or invite you to mute yourselves unless you are actively speaking. If you happen to forget to mute, don't worry, we will help you out and do that for you. We will be using the chat function today for questions. So as you're hearing from candidates for various offices, if you have a question, please type it into the chat along with your name. After we've had introductions from everyone, my colleague Karen is going to lead us into a Q&A session. So she will be monitoring that for us. This forum is being recorded and will be available on the website for playback before convention next weekend. Glad to see you all here today. I'm Andrea Meissen, Canon to the Ordinary on the Bishop staff. I am your host, along with my colleague Karen Gutierrez, who, as I said, will be monitoring the chat and providing tech guidance and leading us through the Q&A section of our time. We have about an hour scheduled for our time today, but we will take as long as we need to get through your questions and give you a good chance to meet our candidates. Before we go any further, let's open with a word of prayer. Gracious God, we give thanks to you for the gift of this time together. We thank you especially for those who have stepped forward and offered themselves as candidates for these elected positions. We ask your blessing upon each and every one of them and on our time today. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. So friends, each year at convention, we elect candidates always for three particular areas: bishop and trustees, standing committee, and cathedral chapter. Every few years, we also elect for diocesan convention for deputies, but we are not doing that this year. We are grateful for those who have stepped forward and offered themselves, and thank them for being here with us today to introduce themselves and to field the good questions that you will have. We're organized today to give our delegates an opportunity to give you all as delegates an opportunity to hear from our candidates, to ask questions that pop up. For each elected body, we will remind you of the roles that they're running for. We will name the candidates and then invite them to introduce themselves. We do have a couple of candidates who could not be with us today. I know one has provided a video, and when the time comes, Karen will play that video for us. And Karen, I'm not sure whose video you have, so you'll have to remind me when we get there. As we read the description of each elected body, we'll invite the candidates who are running for that to use the raise hand button to confirm that they're on the Zoom with us, so that we can call on them for their introductions. And we are going to begin with bishop and trustees. So if you are a candidate for bishop and trustees and you're in the house, please use the raise hand button to let us know that you are here. Bishop and trustees holds title to and oversees the use of the real property of the Diocese of Chicago. That includes St. James Commons, mission congregations, and all closed properties. They approve purchases, sales, construction projects involving mortgages and real estate, and they also approve the diocesan budget. In addition to making decisions regarding maintenance and purchase or sale of property, each trustee is also liaison to at least one mission congregation. The trustees work closely with the vicar and the lay leadership on matters related to the physical plant, and also address questions regarding the congregation's mission in partnership with Congregations Commission. So knowledge of property issues is really important, as is the ability to think creatively about congregational development. Trustees also work in small teams and address broader issues and challenges as they come up. 12 trustees are appointed, serving 3-year terms. This year, we are electing 1 clergy person and 3 lay people for 3-year terms. So here are our candidates. In the clergy order, we have 2 candidates. So this is a contested election: Amity Karuba and Eileen Shanley Roberts. In the lay order, Bob Sellinger is running. Since we have 3 positions in the lay order, following convention, Bishop Clark will be appointing 2 additional lay leaders, 2 bishop and trustees. So we've asked each candidate to come prepared to introduce themselves and tell us their name, their congregation, why they are running, and why they believe they're a good fit for this. I believe all of our candidates are present, so let's begin with Amity Karuba. Amity, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Amity Karuba. I currently serve as the rector of Grace in the South Loop in Chicago, and I have been a priest in the diocese since I was ordained here in 2006. Um, this has been my home and only diocese for all of my ordained ministry. I am running for re-election for bishop and trustees, having just served the last 3 years with the group. And I am running for re-election because the work that initially inspired and led me to run for B&T continues. 3+ years ago, I was unexpectedly drawn to the work of bishop and trustees because I wanted to help contribute to the cause of selling our property at 65 East Huron. And while we have made some good progress on that work, the work continues. I do not have a background in commercial real estate, and so have learned a lot and learned also that the process can be quite lengthy, quite detailed, and quite slow. While serving on bishop and trustees, I serve as the trustee liaison to two of our Latino congregations. So I support them with their property needs and concerns. And I also serve on the subcommittee that is working on the sale of 65 East. And in that, I have, established relationships and have been part of the ongoing conversation and work. And so for me, it is important to continue in that work because it is not yet accomplished. And I believe that the continuity of those conversations and those relationships is important. And that's my motivation for running again for bishop and trustees. In addition to that, I do believe that our diocese needs a comprehensive plan and vision for how our diocese continues to support our mission congregations, specifically as it relates to their property needs, because that is the primary role of bishop and trustees. And I would also like to be a part of that conversation and that planning and visioning because we really do need, as I said, a comprehensive vision for how we faithfully use our funds to support our mission congregations. Andrea, did I touch on everything?
I think you did. Thank you, Amity.
Thank you.
Our next clergy candidate for bishop and trustees is Eileen Shanley Roberts. Eileen, would you please introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. I'm Eileen Shanley Roberts. I teach at Bexley Seabury Seminary and oversee the field education program. I also teach a couple of courses around parish administration and the theology of money. I also serve as long-term supply at St. Paul's in McHenry, where I've been for the last 3.5 or so years, and have the opportunity to see what's happening in other dioceses when I visit our field ed students around the country. I have a doctorate in congregational development. I served as rector at Christ Church Waukegan, where we have a couple of mission congregations proximate to Waukegan, one in Waukegan and then Holy Family in Lake Villa, and worked pretty closely with those congregations. I'm fairly passionate about congregational development, particularly how we maintain and utilize the properties that we have in our care, and helping congregations discern when it's time to no longer be property owners. St. Paul's sold its property in September of 2020, and now rent space with the United Methodist congregation as they discern their future. When I was at Christ Church, we acquired several houses through parishioner estates, and I worked with bishop and trustees to sell one of those properties, and another of those properties has since been sold after it was utilized as rental income for a number of years. I have a lot of experience with property management and property maintenance. I do not have the connections with commercial real estate, though. The realtor who had handled the initial work around the sale of 65 East here on, may he rest in peace, lived 4 doors down from me. So, Andrea, did I touch on everything?
I believe you did. Thank you very much. Thank you both. We'll move on to the lay order. In the lay order for bishop and trustees, we have one candidate, Bob Sellinger. I believe Bob is present. Bob, I invite you, thank you, to introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, my name is, as Andrea mentioned, Bob Sellinger. I want to wish everyone good morning. And I'm honored to be considered for a position on the Bishop and Trustees Committee at a time which I understand is quite critical as the diocese transitions through a time of renewal and growth. I'm a newcomer to the workings of the diocese. As I said, I'm a parishioner at St. Andrew's Episcopal Parish in Downers Grove, and have served on our trust committee and finance committee, and helped out wherever I could in terms of any of the budget and finance issues surrounding St. Andrew's. While I'm new to the workings of the diocese, I'm retired today, but for many years was a vice president at Bell Laboratories here in Naperville, and its successor, Lucent Technologies, having headed a variety of organizations, primarily in engineering, systems development, and marketing, project management, product management, you name it. I was there long enough to have touched a lot of things. And I think I've acquired through all that experience, relevant experience in managing large organizations, complex issues associated with transitions involved, and managing the budgetary implications of that, as we at Lucent went through some very trying times. So I believe I can bring that to the diocese and serve with a fresh perspective. As I said, I'm new to the inner workings of the diocese, and anxious to learn. I think I can pick things up pretty quick, and I'm a good listener in terms of trying to acquire as much relevant knowledge rather as I can. So I can promise to offer a fresh perspective, some new thoughts, but I'll be listening a lot as I try to learn and understand better the issues that we face. For me, I feel called to help any way I can by God. I feel that this is in retirement, an opportunity for me to take advantage of lots of experiences, as I said, in industry and academia. After I retired from Lucent, I was a adjunct math teacher at College of DuPage, having spent a lot of time with teaching developmental math courses, which I truly enjoyed. And as I said in the write-up that I submitted, I believe our future is with our youth, and they are seeking the same things we are seeking in terms of belonging to a community with many of the values that we all share. So I look forward to serving, to learning, and to helping any way I can.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you to all 3 candidates who've introduced themselves. If you have a question for any or all of the candidates for bishop and trustees, please feel free to put that in the chat. We will circle back to those questions after all of the introductions have been made. We will move on now to standing committee. If you're a candidate for standing committee, please use the raise hand button and let us know you are here. So a little bit about standing committee. Standing committee is a council of advice for the bishop. Every Episcopal diocese has a standing committee with responsibilities assigned by the canons of the Episcopal Church. A majority of the standing committees of all dioceses have to consent. For example, when any diocese elects a new bishop, that's one of their tasks. And as we all know, if a diocese does not have a bishop, it is the standing committee who has the authority to make certain decisions for the diocese. To be ordained as a deacon or priest in the church requires the approval of the standing committee of that diocese. So in Chicago, our standing committee works very closely with the Commission on Ministry from the time a person is nominated by their congregation all the way through their ordination. Standing committee is also legally required to approve decisions about clergy leaving the Episcopal Church for any cause. In our diocese, we have a few special customs and provisions that apply to the president, who is elected by the members of the standing committee. For example, our president is automatically a member of the Diocesan Endowment Fund Board. This year, we will be electing one clergy person and 2 lay people for 3-year terms. The candidates for standing committee are as follows. In the clergy order, we have 4 candidates, so this is a contested election. Larry Green, Joanne Lagman, Jonathan Thomas, and Cara Wagner-Shearer. In the lay order, there are 2 candidates, Antoinette Tony Daniels and Wes Kimes. So we're going to go through the group and invite each one of you to introduce yourselves. Again, your name, your congregation, why you're running, and why you believe you would be a good fit for standing committee. We'll begin with the clergy order, and I invite Larry Green to introduce yourself. We can't hear you, Larry. Are you muted by chance? We're still not hearing you, unless it's just me.
No, we can't hear you, Larry.
Yeah, we're still not getting audio for you. I tell you what, Larry, let's move on to another candidate and we will circle back and give you a chance to work on the tech there. And Karen, if you could be of help to him in any way, please do. Joanne Lagman, would you please unmute and introduce yourself to the group?
Hi, my name is Joanne Lagman. I serve as the rector of St. David's Episcopal Church in Aurora. I'm running for standing committee with one among many things in mind, and that is representation. As a member of the community of people of color, I think that it's very important for us to have voice in the matters of the diocese, especially within positions of leadership. And with that voice also comes representation of the LGBTQ community, of which I am a part, with an eye for me always of toward people in the margins. And I think that a voice is really important, as this is an enlarging population here in our diocese. I'm running as well because this is just such an exciting time of transition for us. And I think that creativity and collaboration with other groups and our neighbors, as well as formation and discipleship with an eye toward as well fiscal responsibility is very important for us in the now and as we move forward in the future. And these experiences is who I am. These are things that I've been learning through St. David's as well, which is a community that is coming to life. I'm very proud and happy to say. Yeah. Did I answer all the questions, Andrea?
I believe so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jonathan Thomas, I invite you to unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the group.
I'm Jonathan Thomas. I'm, for the last 8.5 years, the co-rector of St. Paul's in Peoria. I have a history in the diocese of doing a number of things. I've served on for 6 years and feel like I have the requisite experience to be an important voice on the standing committee. But the main reason I'm running is also an issue of representation. I feel like the standing committee over the last few years has been very Chicago focused, and that at least one of the 6 seats should represent the outlying deaneries and areas of this diocese that often don't have our voice heard or aren't as connected in decision-making processes. So I'm partially running to represent that part of the diocese, and sorry. Oh, that question wasn't for me. To represent that part of the diocese and make sure that their concerns are brought to the table, and that Bishop Paula hears their voices when important decisions are made. I think one of the pressing issues in the diocese right now is about communication and connectivity. We've all felt that after COVID, lots of our old systems have broken down, and we need to work on reconnecting and hearing from one another, and so that we can rebuild collegiality and trust in the system. And I think I would be a valuable voice in reaching out to people and congregations who feel overlooked or haven't been heard, and making sure that their concerns are lifted up.
Very good. Thank you, Jonathan. Cara Wagner-Shearer, is Cara present?
Cara is not with us this morning, but she did send in her video, and
Okay.
she sends her regrets for not being able to be with us. I am going to show her video.
And then we'll go back to Larry and try again.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Just give me 1 second while I pull up this video, while I populate it. Okay, can you all see Cara, the video of Cara on YouTube?
Hello, I am Cara Wagner-Shearer, Dean of the Chicago North Deanery and Rector of St. John's in Chicago. I would be honored to serve on our Diocesan Standing Committee. I look forward to supporting our new bishop with my 28-year knowledge and history in the diocese. Financial well-being is our biggest challenge as a diocese. Our greatest opportunity is the welcome each of our congregations offers across our diverse diocese. During my time on the Congregations Commission, I nurtured relationships with congregations and learned from their unique gifts and challenges. On this body, I will keep an ear to the issues of our national church, my hands working at the local level, and my heart open to the movement of the Holy Spirit. I have twice served as a dean and part of the Council of Advice for 2 bishops. I am known for speaking hard truths with love and humor. I am an active participant in the life of our diocese because of my deep love and hope for the church as an instrument of Christ's body in the world. I'm a supportive colleague and have mentored a dozen seminarians, transitional deacons, and folks in discernment for the diaconate and priesthood. Colleagues often turn to me for spiritual advice and for guidance in the nitty-gritty details of parish ministry. Thank you for your time and consideration.
I wish for the amazing new iPhone 15.
Thank you, Karen, for playing that. Let's circle back to Larry Green. Larry, do you have audio? We are still not able to hear you. Yeah, Larry, I think our colleagues are offering some good ideas. Try logging out and coming back in. We'll go ahead and move to our lay candidates, and we'll circle back when Larry's back in the room. Tony Daniels and Wes Kimes are both here. Tony, I invite you to unmute and introduce yourself to the group.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. Good morning, and thank you for taking the time to come and learn a little bit more about me today and why I'm interested in serving our diocese on the standing committee. I'm a parishioner at St. Paul in the Redeemer in Hyde Park, Kenwood area. I hold a BA in psychobiology from UCLA. I have an MBA from the City University of New York and a Master of Divinity from Loyola. I serve as a non-ordained healthcare chaplain, and I'm very proud of that. Everybody always asks me, why aren't you ordained? Because I'm not called to do that, and I'm proud to say that. I also represent I would say, represented group in the diocese, or maybe not, but just not one that is served, and that is people who have physical challenges. And I can't tell you how many congregations that I visit that are not wheelchair accessible, or if the building is accessible, the restrooms are not. So it makes coffee hour a little bit uncomfortable. So that's a group I represent. I've been a lay leader in the church on various levels for many years. I'm well prepared to respond to the responsibilities of the standing committee that Andrea has already explained to you. I have served the church the majority of my adult life. Church-wide, I was the executive director of enrollment management for the General Theological Seminary. I've also served the Episcopal Church Foundation as director of learning and leadership. I was a member of presiding Bishop Catherine Jefford Shorey's staff as director of global mission and co-director of mission. I was a deputy to the 1991 General Convention, where I was the co-convener of Black deputies. I've also served as a member of the Standing Commission on the Status of Women. On local dioceses, I've served 2 dioceses, Los Angeles and New Jersey, as youth ministries coordinator. For our diocese, I have served as on the deacon leadership team, the Commission on Ministry, the Standing Committee, our first 2 years as ecclesiastical authority. That was interesting. And the past 2 years, the last year as the president of the Standing Committee. I also serve as a member of the trustees of the endowment. Through my service to the church, I've gained insights and church-wide relationships that add value to the Standing Committee as we carry out our responsibility. My working style is that of collaborative leadership. I worked this past year to make our operations of the Standing Committee as more transparent as possible, encouraging joint orientation for a Standing Committee, Bishop and Trustees, Diocesan Council, and Commission on Ministry members. I facilitated selection of appointed Standing Committee members. I also facilitated selection of replacement General Convention deputies and managed the Standing Committee administration to create generational consistency and access to information. Now, what does that mean? That means that we have dedicated emails for the Standing Committee, not personal emails or church emails. So we are able to read the conversations of what happened in the previous year between the Standing Committee and people in the diocese who are writing in for advice and questions. We have a dedicated Zoom account and we have a dedicated Dropbox. This just makes our administrative work more efficient. We have updated the guide for selling and mortgaging of parish property. This was a collaborative effort, but I have to say, the heavy load was lifted by my colleague, Wes Kimes, who's also running for office. I believe continuing to work with the standing committee will support our diocese. I will support our diocese well and serve our bishop as an effective leader. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tony. Wes Kimes, invite you to
Wait,
unmute.
Can I just say one more thing?
Sure, Tony.
I think we're running for 1 3-year term and 1 1-year term.
Thank you. That question was in the chat, and I know Karen was doing a little research. So 1 3-year and 1 1-year in the lay order. Thank you. Wes, we invite you to introduce yourself to the group.
Good morning, and thank you for making time this morning. Wow, that's a hard act to follow, Tony. But I would tell you, I've had the privilege and the honor of serving with Tony this past year on the standing committee when she led our group as the president. To back up just a little bit, I'm a member of St. Michael's Parish in Barrington. I've been a member there. My family's been a member there for 30 years. I serve currently as the verger, the first verger we've had at St. Michael's. I lead our acolyte ministry. I serve as a lay Eucharistic minister. I'm on the vestry now for the third term. I served as a senior warden, junior warden, and now another term on the vestry. Yes, that doesn't question my mental acuity, but hopefully that demonstrates my love for our parish. I would like to be considered for a second term. I was appointed in the first term. Didn't know what to expect, but the year of service really compelled me and called me to be considered for a second term. I would tell you that during the year, we did a lot. We covered a lot of issues. We worked with the new bishop as she continued to grow and lead our diocese. But I would tell you that I was struck by the incredible talent, resources across our diocese, both the staff, the bishop's staff, and throughout our other parishes. And I was struck by the fact that they have a unique understanding and calling of the complexities in the world that we live in today, particularly in the church, in the diocese, in the Episcopal Church. And I would say that's where I believe we have an opportunity or a challenge in our diocese and for people to serve on the standing committee. I think with all that talent, with that experience and that leadership, the standing committee and the other members of our diocese committees represent a unique opportunity to guide us at a time of renewal and growth. As Tony mentioned, she led us into an initial stage of collaboration with some of the other committees and organizations throughout the diocese. That yielded tremendous benefits, just the communication, the connection, the sharing of ideas, and the sharing of talent and leadership. And I believe that's going to serve us well as we move into some of the challenges in the years ahead. Why me? Why do I feel I'm called? I'm lucky to be in my, what I call second career. My first career was also in telecommunications as an executive, sales and marketing and international business development. At about age 49, I felt a call by God to change my leadership role to, as I call, lead from the back rather than lead from the front. And at that age, I shifted from corporate leadership into management consulting, specifically as an executive coach, one-on-one with a global firm. That clearly was God's way of bringing me into service to leverage my business experience, but to guide people and to advise people and to enable people to make better decisions, better leadership decisions. I believe I bring that into the standing committee. I believe I'm called at this season in my life now to reinvest the experiences that I've learned, the things that I have gained through my years of experience, and to put that to work for our diocese as I am for our parish, as we try to discern God's call and answer the question, where to from here? So thank you. It's a pleasure to be considered.
Thank you, Wes. Let's circle back to Larry Green. I think Larry is back on the call. Larry, let's see if the audio is working.
I think you can hear me now. I think I'm used my phone to use the audio. My name is Larry Green. I've been an ordained vocational deacon in this diocese for 18 years. I served my first 17 years at St. Chrysostom's Church at 1424 North Dearborn. For the last 5 months, I've been serving as deacon at Church of the Holy Comforter in Kenilworth, which is really a wonderful outreach congregation. In the diocese, I served 2 terms on the diocesan council, and one of those terms I was on the budget committee, which was the work on formulating the budget for the diocese. I bring to this standing committee not only the concerns of being a vocational deacon, but also understanding from my travel and my work with diocesan council the needs and concerns of the entire diocese, which goes down to central Illinois, as far west as to the border of Iowa, and as far north to the border of Wisconsin, that there are parishes and missions that are sometimes may feel overlooked, and I realize that. I also have served on the Anti-Racism Commission. I understand the needs and concerns of educating people on anti-racism. I also served as president of the disciplinary board of the Diocese of Chicago. So I have a really good scope of the diocese, and I also love our church. I love the church. I love to serve and do work for the church. And I truly believe that I can be an asset, not only through my work in God's church, but also through my job that I have as my professional job. I'm a senior certified career coach, and I find that job being somewhat pastoral many times, because I meet people as they're transitioning out of one job to another, and many of them are mad, glad, not too many glad, but a lot are very sad. And sometimes I think I use my vocation as a deacon. Many people, when they look at my LinkedIn profile, they feel very comfortable opening up because they realize that I'm an ordained deacon in the Episcopal Church. I really ask for your support. I'm an active listener, and I really do believe that I could be an asset to the standing committee. Thank you, and may God love you.
Thank you, Larry, and thank you to all 6 of our candidates. I do want to highlight a correction that has been put in the chat regarding how many people we will be electing to standing committee. I was incorrect in my earlier statement. In both the clergy order and the lay order, we will elect 2 people, one to a 3-year term and one for a 1-year term. So we'll be electing 2 clergy folks and 2 lay folks to come on to standing committee. If you have a question for any individual or for the entire group running for standing committee, please feel free to put that in the chat. We will move on now to Cathedral Chapter. We have 2 candidates running for Cathedral Chapter. The chapter is the governing board for St. James Cathedral. Members of the chapter give voice to the vision for the congregation's life together, and they set policy. They oversee resource development, people, property, and finances to support the mission and ministry of the cathedral. Committed Christians are needed on chapter, and especially those persons who understand in depth some of the concerns of urban life, those who have experience in reaching out to city dwellers, and those who've been involved in funding ministries and programs. Cathedral chapter members do not need to be St. James Cathedral parishioners to serve on chapter. Candidates are elected for 1 3-year term. If you have completed a term, you have to wait a term before seeking re-election. This year, the chapter has 3 openings for lay or ordained candidates. They have a 3-year term open, a 2-year term, and a 1-year term open to complete the existing terms for members who have had to step down. So we have two candidates this year for chapter. Maurice Charles is a clergy candidate, and Ann Reba is a lay candidate. I believe Ann was unable to be with us today. We do not, to my knowledge, have a video from Ann. Maurice, if you are on the call, I invite you to unmute yourself and tell us your name, your congregation, why you're running, and why you believe you'd be a good fit for this particular ministry.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Excellent. Good morning, everyone. My name is Morris Charles, he, him pronouns. My congregation in the Episcopal Church that I'm affiliated with is the Church of the Atonement in Chicago, in Edgewater. My primary day job is to serve as the Dean of Rockefeller Memorial Chapel at the University of Chicago, which is here on the south side, and it's that big building behind me. Why am I running for Cathedral Chapter? Well, Jonah is my favorite prophet. And if anything, I'm more likely to run from office than for it. But I was invited to run for Cathedral Chapter primarily because of the work that I have done for a number of years. I was ordained on behalf of the Diocese of Chicago, priested in 1997, spent time in the Diocese of California, the Diocese of Rochester, and often on the Diocese of Chicago. And most of my career has been focused on university chaplaincy and working in small and large central gathering places that convene the community, that are multi-use spaces, and that the most important function being places of hospitality. One of the reasons that I love this work is that if there's a group of people on campus that feels somewhat marginal, just the act of inviting them into the chapel for an activity, whether that is a vigil or some other kind of activity that they would like to be involved in, is a way of bringing them into the center. Rockefeller Chapel is the most urban of the chapels that I have served. The door is literally open to the south side of Chicago. It is one of the most public spaces. When people come to the university, sometimes they see it as a fortress where they may not necessarily be welcome, but there is a great love for this chapel because we host so many programs for the community, including a Sunday service that I like to call a suspiciously Anglican Sunday service, since I'm a suspicious Anglican Episcopalian. But we host a variety of multi-faith services in this space as well. And students come here when they come to the university as undergraduates, they hear their very first lecture on the aims of education in this space. So the real answer to why I'm excited actually about running for this position is that I love to be in places of welcome. And I love cathedrals especially because when I visit a new town and I want to go to church on Sunday morning, as is my custom, and sit in someone's pew, I often look for the cathedral because the cathedral often has folks who are used to welcoming strangers like me. St. James Cathedral welcomed me into the Episcopal Church, and I still have very fond memories of approaching the cathedral steps as Frank Griswold was there for confirmations. And so I would like to contribute my unusual perspective to helping the cathedral continue to be a place of welcome for the diocese. I know that there are multiple financial and other challenges. I like working with groups of people. I can move easily between groups of people who often disagree, and if I'm lucky, bring them together. This is a gift for, I think, our whole diocese, and I'd like to find creative ways and work with creative people to ensure that it continues to be a gift. Not just for that growing congregation, which has lots of young people, which is good to see, but for the diocese as a whole. So I will stop there. I know there are more questions and more candidates, and I think that's enough for now, and I look forward to meeting all of you and seeing you at convention.
Very good. Thank you very much. Our other candidate is Ann Reba, who I believe is not able to be with us. I do want to double check. Karen, do we have a video from Ann?
No, we do not have a video from Ann.
Okay, thank you. Again, friends, if you have a question for any of the candidates running for any of these positions, please do put that in the chat. I am now going to turn things over to Karen to see if we have any questions that need to be asked of our candidates.
I haven't seen any questions. Okay, here we go. We have a question for Father Jonathan Thomas from Lois Garland Patterson. Last year, you expressed concern. I just want to make sure Jonathan is listening. I'm sure he is, but just giving him a second. Last year, you expressed concern for the resolution that congregations should have financial responsibility for ensuring race relations were a part of their programs. You indicated you were not aware of any training programs available in the diocese for your congregation. Suggestions were given to you then. Have you found of them to be helpful, or are you still looking for worthwhile programs? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't think that was me.
Was that not?
I have no idea what that question's relating to.
Lois, do you want to expand a little bit?
Yes,
or where you might have heard that?
Yes, that came up when we had a seminar on resolutions, and that discussion came up, and you weren't aware of any programs. And in particular, I offered you suggestions on different programs that were being offered. And I wondered, especially since you indicated that you were in the hinterlands, and I'm from Iowa, so I understand the hinterlands. You were out in Peoria and you didn't know of any programs. And so I know that programs are available, and I wondered if you had had the chance yet to avail yourself and your congregation of any of those programs to help out. I do remember hearing that because I was just so overwhelmed that you didn't know about any of them. And that's what I was wondering, if over the year you haven't. And if you haven't, I can get that information to you still.
Excuse me, my name is Fran Holiday. I'm having a hard time putting my hand up. So at the time, I would like to be recognized.
Okay, Fran, we'll keep you in mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was on the chat for this conversation and I remember it. And I do not believe that it involved Jonathan.
Okay.
It was a different clergy person, not Jonathan Thomas.
Okay, so it could have been someone similar.
I mean, I could tell you that I believe it was Jeremy Froyen from Flossmoor, because I followed up in a conversation with Jeremy afterwards, discussing with him the work of our Anti-Racism Commission and the trainings and programs that have been offered for some time. So Jonathan, unless you want to dispute me, I don't believe you were involved in that conversation.
No, I supported that resolution, and I have no recollection of this conversation. So I'm sorry, I don't know how else to answer that.
Okay, well, thank you for the background, Fran. That's really helpful. And Lois, really thoughtful question. But yes, otherwise, thank you. And I have not had any other questions come through in the chat. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add in the chat? Any other follow-up questions for the candidates? Andrea, I'm not seeing anything come through.
Okay, well, if you come up with a question, we will have Friday at convention to go individually and ask anyone any questions you would like. We will not be doing our voting for these positions until Saturday. So we have reached the end of our time together, everyone. One reminder for voting delegates, your credentials will be emailed to you right before convention next week, provided you are registered and certified for convention. So if you're unsure if you're registered and certified, please reach out to one of us in the bishop's office. And we can double check that for you. Thank you to all of our candidates for running. Thank you for being here today and introducing yourselves. We are grateful for your leadership. And thank you to everyone who's been on the Zoom today. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.